and they never brought me the horse.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Burgess, you may cross. Sir, at any point did you go hunting for the horse yourself?
Oh, yes, sir. I went with my son to hunt for the horse. The day that we went over to John West and inquired with Mr. West about the horse, and he told us he hadn't seen it in a couple of weeks.
While you were out looking for the horse, did you run into Sam Starr?
No, sir. I understand when the horse was taken, Sam was really sick. The first time I actually saw him, he looked really bad. He was really sick.
So at the time the horse was taken, Sam Starr was pretty ill, almost deathly ill.
Yes, sir.
No more questions, Your Honor. Witness may step down. Mr. Clayton, you may call your next witness.
Everyone call Samuel Campbell to stand.
Samuel Campbell. Go ahead and set your hand. Set your hand next hand. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Now you can sit.
Please state your name.
Sam Campbell.
And do you know Andrew Crane?
Yes, sir.
And do you know the defendants, Sam and Belle Starr?
Yes, sir, I do.
Have you had any of your horses come missing?
Yes, sir. I had one mare, gray mare.
And where did you see the horse last?
Last time I seen her, she was over around John West's place.
And did you ever get that horse back?
No, sir, never did.
Do you know where Mrs. Starr was from before she came to this neighborhood?
I believe she was from Texas.
And is Mrs. Starr an Indian or a white woman?
She was white.
Concerning your horse, do you know if Sam or his wife had anything or took with your horse or took your horse?
No, sir, I do not know if they did or not. If they did it without my knowledge.
Thank you. No further questions?
Mr. Curtis, you may cross. Did you know that the Starr family had taken sick with the measles?
Yes, sir, I heard that they had the measles up at old Sam Starr's place back in the winter, but I do not remember the month.
Was the Starr family the only ones you ever heard of come down with the measles?
No, it was pretty well going around the community at that time.
Are you and Sam on good speaking terms?
No, sir, we're not on very good speaking terms.
But you are friendly.
No, sir, not friendly at all.
No more questions, Your Honor. Witness may step down. Mr. Clayton, you may call your next witness.
Government rest, Your Honor.
Mr. Clayton, does the defense have any witness? Yes, we do, Your Honor. Come and call your first witness. The defense calls Ellen Lowry.
Ellen Lowry. Put your left hand here, raise your right hand. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. Please sit down.
Would you please state your name for the court?
My name is Ellen Lowry,
And where do you live?
Briartown, Cherokee Nation,
How long have you lived there?
say 1870.
Do you know the defendants?
Yes.
Do you live close to Uncle Tom Starr?
Yes, just a short mile.
Are you aware the Starr family had taken with the measles?
Yes, I am.
And when was that?
About the end of March.
Did you know if Sam Starr had the measles?
Yes, he did. He come down with the measles.
And when was that?
Well, at first, it was just for a short time, and then he was sick for about a month, but that was about the end of March.
Did you visit with the family during this sickness?
Yes, I did.
How often do you visit with the Starr family?
Well, sometimes twice a day, sometimes once a day, sometimes every other day, or every 2 or 3 days, and then sometimes I stayed all night.
Who all was it that came down in that family with the measles? Was it Tom? Or was it just Tom and Sam, or was it other people in the family?
Well, at first it was just the children, and then the whole family was affected with it.
So Sam stayed at his father's house, Uncle Tom's house, from the time he got sick until he got well, correct?
Yes, he did.
How long was the time before Sam Starr got sick until the time he was well enough to leave his dad's house, or father's house?
It was over a month.
Are you sure it was that long? How do you be certain?
Well, my husband died the 30th of March, and there was so much sickness about that time that I can't remember exact dates, but Sam got sick about 2 weeks after my husband's death.
No more questions, Your Honor. Mr. Clegg, you may cross.
Mrs. Lyle, are you related to the Starr family?
Yes, I am. I'm Sam Starr's wife's sister. Tom Starr's wife's sister.
So that would make you Sam Starr's aunt by marriage?
That's correct.
About around the time Sam got well, are you aware if he ever left the house for a period of time?
No, I'm not aware. He stayed there the whole time.
Now, did you become sick yourself during that same period?
Yes, I came down with the measles
And how long were you sick with the measles?
for over a month.
Now, do you know if there was a doctor that ever attended to Sam Starr?
Yes, Dr. Redding attended to him.
And you're sure the whole Starr family had had the measles?
Yes.
Now, do you have any knowledge of a horse being taken to Mr. West?
Well, it seems like I did hear something about that about the end of April.
Now, do you remember any of the time that Sam was at his father's sick, that he may have left the home for a period of time?
I'm not aware of him ever leaving the house while he was sick.
Now, on your visits to Uncle Tom Starr's, what was Sam Starr doing most days while he was there?
Most of the time he was in the bed. After a while, he finally, about the end of April, he finally got well enough to get up with some.
And did you see Belle Starr at Uncle Tom's house?
Yes, she went back and forth from her house to Uncle Tom's. I saw her nearly every day.
And what did Mrs. Starr do when she was at Uncle Tom's?
She waited on Tom, or Sam.
Thank you. No further questions.
Witness may step down. Fragrance, you may call your next witness. The defense calls Tom Starr.
Tom Starr? Left hand. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Now you can sit.
Please state your name and your residence for the court.
My name is Tom Starr. I'm from the Briartown community, Indian Territory.
And how are you related to Sam Starr?
Sam is my son.
Did Sam spend a lot of time with you in the house in the late spring?
Sam came to my house in March because he'd come down with the measles.
So he was at your house pretty much the whole month of March.
Yes.
How long did he stay at your place again?
He had a relapse the 12th of April. He stayed around my place until May.
So he stayed all the way, he got sick in March, relapsed in the middle of April, and then ended up staying at your house with measles until the beginning of May.
Yes, sir. He was sick on April 20th, and he stayed at my house.
And his wife, Belle Starr. Was she at the house in Briartown?
Belle was there. She went back and forth to her place.
You say she went back and forth from your, back and forth? Okay.
Yes, yes.
No more questions, Your Honor. Mr. Clayton, your witness.
Mr. Starr, how do you know your son was sick in the spring? Or even more specifically, that he was sick on April 20th?
I remember because I was there plowing. I knew he was sick on the 20th of April.
You say Belle Starr came and went while Sam was sick at your house. And do you have any idea where she came from or where she went?
I don't know where Belle came from and where she went in the nation, or came from in the nation.
Now, how far is it from your house to Sam and Belle Starr's house?
Sam's place is about 5 miles west of my place.
And would Belle Starr, when she come to your place, have to pass Mr. West's place?
No, it's out of her way.
Do you know Mr. Crone?
No, Mr. Crane, 7 or 8 years.
And is he a member of the Cherokee Nation?
No, he does not vote up here. He could not prove his rights.
Mr. Starr, can you tell me when you were in Muskogee, the month and the day?
I can't tell you what day of the month this is. Indians don't keep time like white people. We use the moon.
Well, then when do you figure it was?
I think I was down in Muskogee last May. The corn was up. We generally plant corn in March and April, and corn was up, so I think it was in June. Actually.
June?
June.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Witness may step down. Ms. Cravens, you may call your next witness.
The defense rests, Your Honor.
Very well, with no further witnesses permitted to the prosecution or the defense, we will now hear closing arguments from both attorneys, followed by jury instructions. All right, Mr. Putnam, you may proceed.
Members of the jury, Andrew Crane noticed his horse was missing. He gets information that perhaps Sam and Belle Starr know something or had something to do with his horse. He went and confronts them. Sam denies it, but says he might know. Belle says she knows who took it and that she would intervene and try to get some money or get it back. Well, then some time passes, and Mr. Crane never hears anything back from her. Doesn't even receive any money or the horse. When he confronts her again, she says, "Oh, go down to Mr. West and he'll give you some money for it." Well, when he did, Mr. West didn't know anything about it. But then when they confront the Stars again, or he confronts the Stars again, he said, "Well, give me some time. I'll go to Muskogee. I'll send you some money." Well, that never happened. Now, the defense will say, and the witness will try to say, "Well, Sam didn't have anything to do with it because they were sick." Well, now, there was a period of time when he was well. And Sam was at Mr. West's house at one time. And Mr. West testifies that Sam knew about his wife taking the horse, but then Belle, when she's confronted by Mr. West, she denies it and kind of accuses Sam of it. Seems like they two can't get their story straight. And there's a lot of conflicting stories and statements made by both of them, as testified by the witnesses. Whether the Stars were sick with measles, the fact remains that the Stars knew, and they did have the horse, and Mr. Crane never got his horse back. Therefore, the last people known to have anything to do with the horse are the ones that took the horse. And when it's not returned, it's considered stolen property. Sam and Belle Starr took and stole Andrew Crane's horse.
Mr. Cravens, you may proceed.
Members of the jury, the defense wants you to think that the Stars are a bunch of thieves. Andrew Crane swears up and down that somebody stole his horse when his horse was 5 to 6 miles away from the place that he even lived. In fact, the last time he rode his horse, got off of it from where his house was, the horse took off and ran back to the paddock where it grew up in. So did he really have control of his horse at all the times? So when his horse comes up missing 2 weeks later, after not checking on him, he goes and he asks the Starrs. Now the Starrs have been the whole family down with the measles. Every member of their family. Sam Starr had been down a month and a half. He relapsed. He started at the beginning of March and had a relapse in the middle of April and didn't get 100% well again until May. Belle Starr at that time was going back and forth to her house, a 5-mile journey each and every day to tend to Sam Starr. Now when Mr. Crane came up and asked the Starrs about the horse, they said, well, we don't know who took it, but we'll help you trying to find him if you'll give us a little bit of time. So nothing else was said about it. And he went about his business and they started helping him look. Well, a few weeks went by. They still hadn't found him. Crane came back, asked him again. The Starr said, give us a little bit more time. We'll even send you a little bit of money in the mail to help purchase a new horse. The Belle Starrs didn't take that horse. They had no need to. They had enough troubles on their hands dealing with measles in the whole family that could kill any and every one of them. At the time the horse was taken, Mr. Crane doesn't know who he did, who took it, but he automatically wants to blame the Starr family. And at that point in time when the horse was taken, they were all down sick with the measles. None of them were even able to leave the house, and the one who could leave the house was traveling back and forth between her house and where Sam Starr was, laid up with the measles, tending to him. There's no way that the Starrs could have stolen that horse.
Gentlemen of the jury, you've been called to this place because of the charge of larceny brought against these defendants, Sam Starr and his wife, Belle Starr. You understand that this charge is an accusation of theft, the theft of a man's horse. But this charge goes much deeper than that, than the property, because in taking a man's horse, you take away a man's opportunity to gain employment for his family, to care for his family. You take the child's transportation to school, where he might seek a higher education. You take away a family's ability to attend church services. Taking a man's horse hobbles that man and limits his freedom. So this is a serious charge that deserves your most astute attention, because it is a charge that, if found to be an honest charge, will take away a prescribed amount of freedom from the defendants in recompense for their crime. You've heard the evidence. These attorneys have made their final arguments to you. One seeking a verdict of guilty and the other one asking you to acquit. I ask that you weigh the facts of the charge as they were presented to you and return a decision made in good conscience. Gentlemen, this case is yours. Right?
Jury, stand, please. You follow me.
instead. Foreman, and renovation project.
Judge, we've been back there cussing and discussing this matter for some time, and we just can't come to the same conclusion. We don't agree. It's gonna be a hung jury, sir.
Very well. Return the defendants to their cells and wait for another trial with a new jury. Adjourned.
You're both guilty, Judge. Disgusting. Of course, the reenactors do back there. Everybody else did. Oh, my goodness. Okay, guys, well, if you don't know the historical outcome of this, historically, she was found guilty of this. But we have, I'll list off the reenactors here in a bit, but this is an interesting trial because it's Belle Starr. I mean, I think most of us are familiar with her at some point and her family. She, of course, draws a lot of attention. She's kind of a legend in her own time, and then played up, of course, with all of the books and mythology that's told about her later. And so we can talk about that, but I'll turn over to Stephen for just a second. Stephen was part of writing some of this up.
So I'd like to ask first, many of y'all heard we were going to do this tonight, right? And so what was your anticipation coming here? You think you were going to hear testimony like she was guilty of sin, right?
Right.
Were you kind of surprised what you heard?
Right.
Where did that all come from? Where did she become the bandit queen? If she wasn't the bandit This didn't make her out like to be like we all think of her, did was she? You know where a lot of that comes from? Who ever heard of a tabloid called the National Police Gazette out of New York City? All those stories about her after her death, that's where all that come from, to make her out something she wasn't. But now you heard the truth from the actual from the actual transcript. Now, y'all heard about it. What do y'all think Mr. West's involvement in this? He doesn't seem like he's so innocent of this, does he?
Sure he is.
Even Andrew Crane thinks that Mr. West shot him. You know, Mr. West was an Indian policeman. But do you think he had a grudge against the Stars and was lying against them? For something we don't know about. Now, can somebody tell me what they think actually happened to that horse? Do you think the Stars took it, or what else could happen? Was it Andrew Crane's fault for just letting the horse run free?
No, that's what people did back then.
That's what people did. That horse could have gone anywhere. It could have ran off. Somebody else could have done it. There's a lot of possibilities.
Well, even in Mr. Crane's testimony at the beginning, he said that when he got off his horse and unsaddled it, that horse took off and headed back to the field that he was raised in.
That's where he was stolen from, was the field he was raised in.
Yeah.
But even if Belle just borrowed the horse, it sounds like she had other things to deal with. She's probably gonna help the guy get it, but, you know, her family's sick, and it's like...
Another good point. I'm glad you brought that up. You know, was she lying? Was she not being sincere when she said, "I'll give you money later"? Like you brought up. I mean,
if they're not guilty, why would they want to give the man money? Actually.
To help him out. He was old and
Did they give him child? Did y'all give him any money prior to the time the horse was stolen?
it's another argument you could make.
Yeah.
It's another
I
argument.
think that is true.
Actually, Andrew Crane is 24 years old and he's
Charles, another last minute for us.
That's okay.
He gave him money and he wanted more.
That could be too. You know, and like Cody says, again, they were found guilty on this and sentenced to a year in prison in Detroit, both of them. You think that was fair?
She seems to know something about where the horse is.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't, she's not saying, I'm gonna help you get your horse back, I'm not telling you who has the horse.
But here's the thing too, this also brings out the relationship between Sam and Belle is not all that close.
This is not the first time.
She's a sucker for him, Sam.
Huh?
You lucky dog.
See, so according to Mr. West, he says Belle admits stealing. But again, is Mr. West telling the truth?
You don't like them.
That may be. That may be. And then, but Sam, he doesn't trust his wife, who she's running around with. So, any questions? Any questions?
Why didn't they split the charges?
Yeah, why didn't they separate them?
I don't know. I mean, apparently, if they were both apparently seeking the horses and stuff, so because they were both in technically possession of them, they talk about them bringing them to the house and stuff like that, they're both just guilty of that through association.
I tried to.
Sorry.
We thought Sam was innocent and Belle was guilty.
Sorry.
Sam, you just got suckered in.
I was just.
She could have stopped off anywhere along that way, because 5 miles on a horse is pretty, a good distance.
We don't find any documentation or testimony, good point, that Belle ever had the measles. And it may be that
She might already have it.
she may already have it.
She has immunity.
But what I'd like to say too, what you saw here was just testimony from the preliminary hearing to see if there's enough evidence to bring it to trial. We also have subpoenas for other people to testify in the actual trial that we didn't have the testimony for. You heard them mention Dr. Redding. He was called to testify. And there were other people in the area to testify too. Again, we're just guessing. Now, how many of you heard of Glenn Shirley? Glenn Shirley wrote the book, and I don't know if Cody agrees with me on it. I think he's done the best documentation of staying to the facts. You'll see most of the preliminary hearing quoted word for word in his book. And I want to say, in recognition of a lost patron here, we just recently found the originals here. And it was our good friend and park ranger, Jeremy Lynch. He's the reason we're able to do this.
Any other questions, guys? Yeah.
What was final punishment?
1 year. They got out early, believe it or not. I'm good. Good in jail.
Yeah, good behavior. They come back here.
What did he do with that lunch? It was common to send them. They got sent to Detroit, which is fairly common. There was closer prisons, Little Rock being one of them. Parker had a little bit of say in where he sent people. The prison there in Detroit had classes and things they could learn skills and trades and try to reform them. And that's partially why he sent some of them there. And plus, he'd also said that the one in Little Rock was like an at-profit or for-profit prison, which is still debated nowadays where they send certain people. So he sent them a lot of times to Detroit because they had like classes to help reform them. They went a long way.